Hey there, and welcome back to Remnant. Today we're going to be using the plasma cutter, which, I mean, it's kind of obvious because the title of the video is probably the plasma cutter, right? But it's a pretty solid gun. I mean, it really has been since, the game has been out. It is a solid gun and probably going to continue to be a solid gun. It's just not one that I typically use very much. Not really sure why. I don't know. It's cool. I do like the style of it, right? I like the whole idea of it as well. And it's really kind of clean, simple in what you want to do. There's nothing super crazy fancy to it. It's just shoot a laser and do damage. And the more you hit the guy with the laser, the more damage the laser is doing. So I do like that aspect of it, right? So I don't know why I don't use it very much. But we're using it here. It's also really hot in here. It's also really fun with a stasis beam because you can lock down an enemy, which then means that you can just sit there and do something like this, where you just non-stop build up damage and watch them die in a few seconds. Very fun. It's super satisfying. I mean, stasis beam is really, really satisfying as it is. But I mean, plasma cutter, man, it's pretty good. If you don't use it, you should give it a go. But what am I doing differently than what other people do? No idea, because I have never seen anybody else use it. I didn't bother to watch videos of other people using it. Whenever I do multiplayer, I've never seen anybody use it. So I don't know what people normally do. Right now, I've put in the Zero Defied amulet because it takes 100 rounds to refill the magazine, and so I was emptying it out really quickly before. I was doing a lot of different things, and I got tired of using all my ammo, so I put that on. And it's also a 15% damage increase, so it just fit nicely in there, so I went with that. Just got the nice damage increase, infinite ammo, so that we can just constantly use the thing. Oh, he's a teleporter? Wait. Oh, there he is. And then from there, I put on the Stone of the Expanse, because it's just a 12% damage increase to range damage, which everything we're doing here is ranged. There is no other type of damage we're doing here, so it's just good for us. So of course you can trade that out for whatever damage increase you like. And then from there, I did a crit chance increase, a Braided Thorns, right? But there's some other things I decided to work with, right? Because of what the plasma or cutter is about. Because the thing it does is ramp up its damage. The longer you shoot it, it ramps up to 2 times damage, unless you use a mod, at which point it can go to 3 times, right? And so while you're shooting it, it means you have to be aiming down sights. So there's a couple things I decided to weave into that. The first one is a hunter skill, Hunter's Focus, so that after aiming down sights for a half second without doing anything, focus in, do more range damage, more weak spot damage, better reticule stuff, all that. You just shoot better, right? And so it made sense to use that. And then the mutator I'm running is the Deadly Calm, because Deadly Calm ramps up the damage to 25% over 3 seconds when aiming down sights. And at level 10 you get an increase of 10% to your ranged crit chance. So because all we're doing is aiming down sights to just continuously fire at the enemy, it made so much sense to use that stuff. And I mean, the damage ramps up pretty nicely, dude. And then I also put on the micro compressor ring, because that one reduces the heat generation by 30%, and then increases how quickly it cools down when you're not firing. And so what that ends up allowing us to do is we can fire the entire magazine without overheating. Right as it is going to overheat, that's when we empty out the magazine. So just like you can see here, see how we don't overheat? Wow, there it is. And then it's reloading, and the whole thing drops to 0, because whenever it seems to reload, it just drops all the heat. So I've been really enjoying it, right? It's been a lot of fun. I've been able to do, just tons of damage to bosses, bunches of damage to trash guys, and, just shoot things. Just shoot things with lasers. It's been satisfying. I mean, there are some downsides with it, I would say. The primary one being, for it to do its damage, right, you have to continuously shoot at the enemy. Yeah, it can still do damage even if you're, moving in and out of it and having to roll and stuff. but you do need to kind of continuously keep shooting. And so if you've got enemies who are shooting a lot of things at you and you have to dodge a lot, or you're just really getting like knocked out of aiming down sights, it's going to lose a lot of its like DPS and damage. So part of what I ended up taking to help us out here is the footwork trait. Footwork increases your movement speed while aiming down sights. And then we maxed out the traversal trait as well, swiftness, so that we move faster, and then we move faster while aiming down sights. So, you know, just like I've said before in other builds that have kind of a focus on some of that range damage stuff, that movement speed while aiming down sights allows you to avoid many projectile attacks from enemies, and especially even bosses, dude. Like, we're gonna fight Sha'Hala here after this guy, but I mean, I was able to dodge a number of projectiles just by strafing side to side while continuing to shoot a melting laser into them. And so that is very satisfying. I do really enjoy it. Once we clear these guys right here, I'll actually pull open the loadout so you can actually get a good look at it and what we've got going on. So I am running the Challenger as my primary archetype. It's just kind of a holdover from some things I was messing around with, but it works out nicely for us because it's flat damage increase. We can use a rampage, and then I also got the Die Hard perk so that like when I kind of inevitably make a mistake, it picks me back up for right now. And then Hunter is my secondary archetype, does a whole bunch of stuff for our range with the Hunter's Focus as mentioned. Here's a Zero Divide, infinite ammo reserves, 15% increase to our range damage. Microcompressor for the heat management, Stone of Expanse for 12% more range damage, but you could ultimately change it for whatever like range damage or whatever damage you want, right? Braided Thorns, increasing our crit chance by 10%, very nice. The Kinetic Stone, or whatever it's called, increasing critical damage, would be a nice synergy thing to do with it if you really want to. Swapping between the two, I found, Braided Thorns was just ultimately more consistent because, you're more consistently getting critical hits. But sometimes with like the Kinetic Stone, if you are getting more critical hits, you're obviously going to do more damage. And then I have on the Reserve Boosting Gem. This is something that I've been swapping around a bit. It gives us a lot of health regen, 0.5 per second. When we go under 50%, puts it up to 2.5 until we hit 50%. Part of the reason I was taking this is because the relic I'm using, Void Heart, takes a while to activate and heal us. 4 seconds, we get 50% more damage reduction with the stacks of bulwarks we can get from it. That puts us pretty close to about 80% damage reduction. I don't know why I'm at 49.9% damage reduction. I swear I'm normally at like 50 something. Do I not have points in Fortify? Oh my god, I don't have points in Fortify right now. Yeah, so I don't know that it puts me at 80% damage reduction anymore, but it gives us a lot of damage reduction. It just takes time to activate. Now, I did go full damage with this as far as like the little relic slots go. I've got range crit chance, range crit damage, range damage, damage. Full set of the Technician armor because I just went Naruto on it with the plasma cutter. Here it is. Got heat sink, gives it better heat management, increases that damage ramp up to 3 times, and then it automatically overheats when it ends as well, but it's pretty quick. And then Deadly Calm, 25% more damage over 3 seconds while aiming down sights, increase range crit chance by 10%. I do also have the Stasis Beam on with the Tech 22. I just like Tech 22. Momentum's in there because we got a lot of crit chance stuff, so that can do good amount of damage. Atom Smasher, Accelerator, Shield Strike, right? As far as traits go, like I said, Footwork with Swiftness is a godsend for this. I do have Fortify. I guess I just missed it earlier because I have not been enjoying things as I rely. Yeah, Triage and Regrowth. I found that the Lifesteal just didn't seem to do very much for this. Like I used it on my other like soldier build, right, where I was using the Bone Saw, and it was like I could really see it cranking up my health with the lifesteal, but for some reason on this gun, it just wasn't doing that much, right? It wasn't amazing. I don't know. But some ideas you could do with this thing too, right? I prefer using something that manages my heat. So like, the micro compressor, you could run the Ingenuity mutator right here. It does the same thing, except this one increases the reload speed when you get it up to a high heat, as opposed to the micro compressor, which just like, increases the cooldown rate when it's overheating, right? But the thing is, like, there wasn't a good ring I wanted to use that would like kind of replicate what Deadly Calm was doing for me. So for kind of my purposes, it just felt like Deadly Calm was better than whatever ring I was using to replace Micro Compressor. But we're gonna fight this robot dude, and then we're gonna fight Sha'Hala, alternate version. Depending on what the enemy's got, might be pretty okay. I mean, really, the build has been pretty solid. I've already cleared Nerud like once and done some other random stuff with this setup. It is fun. It's just a matter of getting consistent hits on the enemy, right? So like, here we go, start building up. Now if we can get some weak spot hits, now with some extra, see how we're like able to strafe the laser quite a bit just by like moving around, and look how much damage we did to that thing in one magazine, right? Over a quarter of its health. And now we're moving into the next part of his like phase, I guess. Let's go ahead and just use one of these, and we're gonna dodge here, and we're gonna kind of follow this one close real quick so that I can try and get some consistent shots. This is kind of like where I was talking about, like, you get some trouble when you can't like consistently shoot the guy. Put that trigger. Rampage worked out kind of nicely for us, right? It's, you know, increased range damage, increase reload speed, fire rate, and stuff like that. The bad thing with it is, you know, it does give us infinite ammo reserves, which ultimately doesn't really help us out a whole lot. We got our heatsink active again, so that's going to really let us ramp up some damage. And I mean, look at it. Look at the damage go. Using our relic again just to heal us back up. Now we should be able to just kind of strafe these blue lasers when they really start up, right? I think, if I can hit it there. Yeah, and then, yeah, this is overheated, I guess. Something. The mod ended. I can't get a good angle. There we go. Yeah. Come on. Come on. There we go. There it is. It's simple. Just simple, right? I think that's what I like so much about it, is you just shoot the guy. There's not some juggling of buffs and relic use and this and that to really like make it happen and do good damage. It's just the gun itself is just good. Has been good, will be good, is good. Now we're gonna fight Sha'Hala and see how it does there. Oh, I should mention too, one of the traits I didn't mention that I used was Glutton. I've just been enjoying using Glutton, man. Being able to use the relic faster, it's been pretty nice, especially because this one, right, takes time to really activate. So the faster I can get it active if I'm hurt to get the damage reduction and get it, like, you know, working to heal me up is pretty nice. So I do like using Glutton with this too. And if I ever decide to actually use consumables, it can allow us to use more consumables. I think this is my favorite boss fight in the game. Sha'Hala is so cool, man. Nerud in general might actually be my favorite world, and I really can't wait to get a DLC for it. But Sha'Hala should be pretty cool. You'll get to see like some of the ability to really strafe projectiles in this fight. You know, not everything, but you'll see what I mean when it happens, right? And I'm kind of curious what the affixes are he's going to have, and if they're going to really mess us up or not, right? Yeah, he's so cool. Alright, let's go. Let's go ahead and do this and the mod right away. This thing can add up to, like, I mean, you can end up pushing, like, something like 4,000 DPS with, like, 2 of the buffs active at the same time. A single clip of the gun is like doing over like 20 to 30,000 damage. And I mean, if you got the double stacks of buffs going on, yeah, you're doing a ton of damage. Why is my gun not pulling up right now? Thank you. I'm gonna roll forward through there. Let's go ahead and reload it now. Activate Berserk or Rampage, not Berserk. So this is the one, right? So here we go. Ready? No, not this one. Sorry, I was wrong. But see what I mean as far as like having to dodge things, right? Once you start having to like dodge things, it makes it very difficult to maintain constant fire in the enemy to get like your maximum amount of damage, right? So you can end up kind of pulling it off with the with some of the right setup, right? Uh-oh, gonna have to watch out for things. Oh, haha. See how we're dodging those projectiles just by moving to the side? Pretty okay for us. We're gonna reload it now. Now this is what I'm talking about, right? Oh no, he's shooting a bunch of shit at us. Oh, I got stuck. All right, ignore that. I got stuck on a freaking little tiny pebble. Don't worry about it. I'll get us another chance, okay? I promise you can avoid those things just by strafing side to side. Now, F that. I'm gonna show you. I'm going to show you. Here it is. All right, here we go. Round 2. Now moving. Look how we just avoid those by moving to the side. Look at that. I got clipped a little bit. Maybe because I changed my angle. But notice I didn't dodge at all. All I did was keep moving, and I just kept dealing damage. We do have to dodge some around this because the extra lasers make it a little too hard there. But on the whole, see, like, we're going to be able to just kind of move to the side while aiming down sights to avoid those things, which is super satisfying. Alright, so here we go. Go the tail. Got me. It's okay. Howie. There we go. There's some good damage, right? We're going to go to get the relic going now. Activate this. I like just the constant bits of damage, right? Now this is the point where the Glutton's going to help us with Void Heart, use it proactively to like avoid things. I'm going to roll off the edge because that's just what I'm going to do. Alright, this is where we need to proactively use our relic. And then what we do is we roll through now. Now we're good. Activate this, and then we just go ham. Watch it melt his health. Good stuff, man. Now the cool thing is too, from what I've been able to tell, right? The like the deadly calm stuff. If you are reloading, as long as you continue holding down the button to aim down sights, you are going to continue to get the benefit of the deadly calm. So you can do that to keep maintaining the bonuses and do bonus damage and stuff, right? While still having to reload and everything. We've got a lot of bonus damages stacked up right now. Oop. Oop. Alright, now you can also, if you can get the angle right on these things, you can also, right, just see how I like just kind of maneuver around them. As long as you know where they're kind of going. I kind of messed it up. But I did enough damage anyways. But if you can see where those lasers are kind of swooping around, you can just move forward and back to avoid where they're at. It's a little tricky because the perspective is weird, but you can do it. What have I done? What I've done is I won, right? I don't trust that custodian guy one little bit. He's not trustworthy. But that's the build, man. The plasma cutter, dude. It's solid. I really enjoy it. It's just damage. Just damage. And I mean, if you get in here, right, if you unload the full thing on its own with our current setup, right, we're pushing 2600, 2700 DPS once we get like fully rolling, 22k damage. Scoot it back a little bit, you know, you activate, even just activating the mod, and once it gets like ramped up, because like we're ramping up from the damage, you know, up to 3 times damage plus deadly calm, you know, 3600 damage or 3600 DPS with 30k damage. And then I mean, if you stack on 2 things on top of it, right, if you stack 2 things on top of it, I mean, ping, go crazy. I mean, we start pushing up towards, see how we're pushing 4k DPS. And then by the time the magazine's empty, you know, we're doing 40,000 damage in the magazine. Now, how often are you really getting to just sit there and unload just like that on a guy? I mean, you can see in the boss fight, it's a little few and far between. If you're playing with teammates, it's possible maybe somebody's drawn a little more aggro than you or something, and then you could really, like, unload on them, and that can be good. But it's also kind of the point of, like, you know, being able to just stasis guys allows you to kind of just suddenly turn and then unload them. But that's really only good for the regular elites. You know, your aberrant guys, it's not going to work on. Bosses, it's not going to work on. Yeah. Give it a go, man. Use some more plasma cutter. Really fun. Overall, pretty enjoyable. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for checking it out. Always appreciate it when you do. More videos, always going to keep going. And yeah, until the next one, take care.